The Snyder Cut movement was truly an incredible feat by the internet and Snyder fans. It was also relatively successful, but it seems that it has become a key part of Zack Snyder's image as a filmmaker. The man that fights back against studios for creative freedom! And it seems Netflix was all too happy to feed into that and try to fabricate another Snyder Cut phenomenon by giving him a deal to make his Rebel Moon films. But they have missed all the marks by just outright telling us that's what they were doing when they announced he would be making like PG-13 versions of his films and then the full Snyder Vision rated R director's cut. However, this time, it isn't Josh Whedon coming to do reshoots and trim down the PG-13 shorter version. No, this time we got Zack's vision for the PG-13 one, no matter what they tell you. That was his vision, and now we got his rated R longer attempt, which is pretty much just as bad as the originals. It is the same shit, but with more bits and a couple tits. So just to start this off, yes, I watched all 6 hours of the two director's cut films, and yes, I thought they were both terrible. But were these new versions just as bad? Well, no, they were slightly better than the originals. There were a lot of throwaway lines that you would have expected in the originals, and a couple more scenes that felt missing that were incorporated into these films. There was some better continuity, and as mentioned before, a couple assets were thrown into the picture. So it does raise the level of quality a little, but the overall problems with the story and the lack of any real character work is still there. And I'm not going to go over all the old plot points and issues again, so you can go watch my other two review videos and you'll get pretty much the same from them as you would if I did that now. So instead, let's talk about what they added. I would like to start with what made these movies rated R: the language, violence, and sex. As for language, yeah, they said fuck a couple times, called the ship's engines a bitch, and that's about it. There was nothing too out there, it was just enough for the PG-13 rating not to stand, and honestly, it didn't add much to the movie but a couple bad jokes. Alright, now for the violence. So remember the original Rebel Moons? Whenever someone got hit with the plasma bolt of ever-changing damage, it would splatter all around like you just chucked the lava of a lava lamp at the wall? Well, now imagine that, but with the worst CGI blood you have ever seen added in and in suspiciously large quantities. That and lots of heads getting blasted off or holes put in them is the majority of the violence that was added to these films. Some of it had cool moments, it made it bigger impact, but the majority of it felt unnecessary and didn't really add anything in terms of raising the stakes or making it feel more serious, and like everything was, more dangerous. The story around the violence was still terrible. There wasn't really any emotions behind the fighting. The gun still did inconsistent damage with whatever the scene needed to do, like obliterating people, but then being stopped by wood and then not being stopped by wood. And also just the shitty CGI did not help. Especially since at times it felt like all that blood was just added to cover up bad choreography. Now, for the part that all fans of the simp nature for Sofia Boutella will love and give this movie a 10 out of 10 for. The sex. There is a sex scene at the beginning of each movie, and you get to see Sofia Boutella in all her glory, and I will admit,
nice.
But Zack doesn't know how to do anything in a reasonable time. Snyder even drags the sex scenes a little too long. Now, I'm sure my younger self would have slapped me with the Macy's catalog on the brawl section for saying something like that, but older, more mature me that now has access to certain sites for better scenes can now see a sex scene like these and just kind of go, okay, maybe that was a bit much for a movie. I understand the point Zack was going for with these scenes, and he clearly thinks he has an audience of a certain age or mentality, but it just dragged way after the emotional points were made. The point being that in the first movie, Cora slept with Den because he was like the boy toy that did the manly things, along with the religious connotations made very clear by the village elder. It was obvious it was just kind of carnal sex for her. There was no like kissing or passion. But when she gets down with Gunner in the second movie, she is really into it. It is a more mutual, passionate, and intimate experience, and you get that they really love each other. All these emotions in both scenes were understood very quickly, seconds into them. But I don't know if Zach was trying to legitly go for an adult video award for best sex scene without penetration, but he was really getting in there. It's like, okay, Zach, I think you made your point. You got everything you wanted to get across to the audience. Now flip her over! Do her from the back! Then flip again and start riding him. Yes, kiss those nipples. Excellent. This is my true vision. But whatever. I'm sure people absolutely love this edition, and I really don't blame them one bit. Although I just gotta say, Zack Snyder is so bad at continuity, he can't even consistently keep Cora's bra open in the same way. She's banging Den, he's like fumbling around to get it unclasped from the back, and she has to like take charge and do everything for him because he's a bumbling idiot. This is the best hunter in the village that fuck for religious farming reasons. He probably knows how to handle himself with his bed. Anyway, when Cora's with Gunner, her bra suddenly opens from the front. Come on, Zach, I expected better from you. All right, jokes aside, I guess she could have changed, but she does seem to be wearing the same outfit throughout the movies, just saying. Not all in all, I don't think any of this stuff that made it rated R really enhanced the movie. It's still just a spectacle, and now it's just a spectacle that's more, oh, look how adult and edgy it is with all this fluff. Now the things that were added to the story and characters in terms of added on scenes, alternate scenes, and added in dialogue. The first of the two movies definitely got the brunt of this treatment, but throughout both, we got some more lore about the universe, like how the Dreadnoughts are powered by apparently like imprisoned celestial goddesses that feed on organic matter, aka the bones of the Imperium's enemies, instead of coal like in the original movies. Which is better, I guess. I mean, it's nice to get some context wherever the fuck this is, but I don't know if hard to burn bones is better than easy to burn coal. It is definitely more hot topic emo heavy metal lover, but it is just as dumb as coal in my opinion. The trapped celestial being is admittedly an interesting different method of power, but still the act of shoveling something into burners to make a spaceship move is just dumb. Something else that is added to both movies is learning more about Eris the soldier boy and seeing more of his relationship develop with Sam. He actually does stuff in the first movie. He doesn't just disappear after helping rescue Sam like in the first attempt. Actually, the entire farm and its people get a little more screen time. They actually kind of prepare a little while Cora was gone. What changed in this first movie is that they show them attempting to fix Cora's ship while she's gone. Eris isn't able to do anything, but Jimmy the robot ends up fixing it while they're all asleep. And Jimmy doing the repairs makes more sense than it just kind of working in the original second movie. Speaking of Jimmy and his adventures, if you can call them that, he showed a lot more in the first director's cut, and randomly throughout the film, it would just cut Jimmy walking around in the woods or watching the farm and acquiring more nature for his little outfit. All while Anthony Hopkins narrates vague proverbs of a religious nature. Yeah. So this highly advanced robot in this universe of steampunk Nazis and space Vikings is having an existential crisis, and man, I just wish there was like some consistency in technology. This thing is super advanced and overpowered as shit. Yet in a universe where people can create things like him, they're still harvesting grain with fucking sickles while their enemies go out to capture galactic space goddesses with World War II-like technology. This man really just wanted to do Gladiator, 300, Seven Samurai, and a bunch of other better movies in space and call it Star Wars if he could. There are lots of other added things to pad out the time, including extra slow motion and needless shots. Some are good, a lot are bad, and most are just kind of irrelevant and didn't add anything of value. The good things were like how they had some better continuity, like remembering communicators while infiltrating the King's Gaze in the second movie, so Gunner can talk to Cora, tell her what he is seeing and hearing. Cora turning the gun of the ship on the bridge was better than the ship just blowing up in time to stop it before it was fired. And then they had the occasional throwaway line to explain some retarded things, and that was technically better. There was the bad stuff like the bounty hunters that followed them to the farm and just didn't really do anything for a while, and Jimmy just kind of watched them also not doing anything for a while, only to step in right at the last minute when he could have just done something from the very beginning. And then there's so much irrelevant things like More grain harvesting, alien prostitutes not liking being prostitutes, establishing shots that drag out forever, longer character scenes that didn't actually say or add anything substantial, and in my opinion, this setup by the engine goddess thing for something that will probably happen in more movies. And I say that part is a waste because please, Netflix, don't give Zack any more Rebel Moon movies. You dropped both director's cuts at one time, and the advertising has been non existent. You know these are trash, and no one but a small group of people are watching them. If these two waste of money movies has taught me anything, it's that Zack doesn't actually know how to cut and condense a movie. The original movies were his vision. Don't let this fake Snyder Cut bullshit thing fool you. He either cut out the stuff that were in these versions that helped out of sheer incompetence, wanting to make his R-rated version better to play up the let me do my own vision thing, or maybe he heard some of the criticisms and filmed them after and just shoehorned them in. Some editions were just like ADR voiceover, so he very much could have done that with some of the changes. Either way, I think it makes him look bad because no matter what, just like the originals, the acting by most of the characters are weak. Cora shouldn't be able to fight giant men the way she does, and her line delivery is terrible. The story is weak and retarded and still revolves around grain. There's too much slow motion, establishing shots that hang on choir music, and the movies are just too long in general. Nothing that was added in these director's cuts should have been missing from the original, except for the blood and tits for the rating. These movies could have easily been a single just over 2 hour movie and not miss any of the actual parts the story needs. And the sad part of all this is, back in my high school days, I probably would have loved every minute of these movies, but now I just can't. They are terrible, and I really want these movies to stop, no matter how well they have helped this channel. But you know what? If you do like these movies, for whatever reason, be it you love Zack for Zack, you like what you might ignorantly think is an adult Star Wars, or you just really like something else, then good for you, and please enjoy them to your heart's content. But it isn't shameful to accept that maybe these are just a guilty pleasure for you, because these are pretty shit movies.